What do a struggling actor, a radical TV producer, and a frustrated novelist have in common? They're all black creators trapped in a system that profits off stereotypes, and each one uses satire to fight back. Hollywood Shuffle, Bamboozled, and American Fiction are three films, decades apart, that ask, what does it cost to be seen in America if you're black? I'd like to compare these three bold works of satire and see how they tackle race, media, and representation. So let's get into it. In Hollywood Shuffle, released in 1987, Robert Townsend plays Bobby Taylor, an aspiring actor navigating a Hollywood where every role for a black man is a thug, pimp, or slave. Through skits and daydreams, the film turns harsh truths into biting comedy. Bamboozled, released in 2000 and written and directed by Spike Lee, tells the story of a black writer who's fed up with racist programming and creates a modern-day minstrel show as a protest. But it becomes a hit. Suddenly, he's complicit in the very thing he hates. And released in 2023, American Fiction, directed by Core Jefferson, tells the story of a disillusioned novelist who writes a fake stereotype-filled, quote, black drama novel as a joke, only for it to become a bestseller. So let's talk about tone. Hollywood Shuffle is funny and very accessible. Townsend uses sketch comedy and absurdity to keep things light, even when he's showing the painful truth behind the laugh track. Bamboozled is furious. Spike Lee dials everything up, surreal imagery, raw digital video, and an ending that pulls no punches. American Fiction, by contrast, is subtle and literary. It's less in your face, more like a wink across the table, until the punches hit. So I'd like to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each of the films. In Hollywood Shuffle, Townsend's humor hits hard because it's rooted in experience. He uses sketch comedy to let the pill go down smoother. Some problems with it, though, is that it's a bit loosely structured. Some of the sketches hit harder than others, and the satire can feel a bit broad at times. But honestly, the rawness is part of its charm. So with Bamboozled, Spike Lee doesn't hold back. This is bold, provocative satire that forces you to confront the ugliness of America's media history head on. And the final montage is unforgettable. But honestly, at times, the anger is so overwhelming, it may alienate some viewers. And I know this is kind of going back to the whole Spike Lee being an angry director trope, but now let me continue. The characters sometimes feel like symbols more than people, which makes the story hit more like an essay than a drama. And honestly, I think this is a problem that Spike Lee has in a few of his movies. Not saying that he should not be so angry, because his anger and his passion, well, let's just say that a lot of us can relate to it. But if you're trying to tell a story and you're doing it through this medium of film, yes, sometimes that anger can come off as being, and I hate to say this, but really preachy. So I'm recording this after I've recorded everything else. So kind of going back and looking over these movies again, my biggest criticism definitely goes to Bamboozled. There are so many choices made in it that seem simply bad choices. The tone, it seems to be kind of all over the place. The acting choices, which I'm going to put on Spike Lee, it kind of leads to that whole thing of the tone being all over the place. And what I mean by that is like Damon Wayans' character. I don't know what the choice was with there. It's like Damon Wayans is doing one of his impressions that he does for his comedy, and it's not really funny, and it's if anything, it's distracting. We could say Michael Rappaport, his acting is distracting as well, but I mean he's being Michael Rappaport. The inclusion of the Mau, I think they're the Mau Mau's, a group that is led by Mos Def. they're simultaneously clownish, but at the same time, they bring up some very good points. So we see them where they have these scenes where it's supposed to be comical, but then the way what happens with the ending, it contrasts with the way they're presented earlier in the movie. So I don't really, I don't know exactly what Spike Lee was going for with these choices, but the result is, like I said, it's of the three movies, it is the one that's the most uneven in tone, uneven with the actors. And what I mean by uneven with the actors, it's like the actors aren't. At times, it feels like they're in different movies. Looking back at Hollywood Shuffle and seeing it again, I really forgot how funny it is, and how much Robert Townsend was able to do with so little, and also just seeing the people that at the time I didn't recognize, but the talent he had in it. Paul Mooney appears in Bamboozled and Hollywood Shuffle. I forgot about that. And also, American Fiction is just, I mean, it got plenty of flowers, I think, but at the award season when it came out. So, as I'll say later on, these are, they do work as a trilogy, and they should be, I think they should be watched together, and maybe watched in the order of Hollywood Shuffle, Bamboozled, and American Fiction because of the times they came out. But of the three of them, I do think that Bamboozled is the most uneven one. Hollywood Shuffle, even though you could say the humor is going to kind of come off as maybe a bit outdated because of how old it is, but it still holds up. It still holds up pretty well. And I mean, American Fiction is just I think it's a great movie, even though it's, like I said, none of them are perfect movies, which I say later on. But those are definitely the two strongest of the three movies, which to me is kind of, it's disappointing because it goes at Spike Lee. I mean, this one movie is kind of uneven with the tone, uneven with the acting. But honestly, uneven tone in acting, it's something that comes up a lot, honestly, in Spike Lee movies. And finally, American Fiction. It's sharp, nuanced, and emotionally rich. The film balances critique with humanity, giving us a protagonist who feels real, flawed, funny, and exhausted. The satire, however, is more subtle. Some viewers might miss the bite. And the film pulls some punches near the end, leaning more towards personal resolution than structural critique. So you could almost say that if American Fiction being kind of a course correction of Bamboozled, it may have been too much of a course correction. So the interesting thing about these movies together, other than the themes they approach, is how they approach these same themes from different viewpoints. One deals with the actor. One deals with the producer of the work, and the other one deals with the writer. Almost the different layers of the creation of the media. These films are kind of an unofficial trilogy, a 35-year-long conversation between black artists and the system that shapes their visibility. Whether through laughs, fury, or irony, they each ask, what are the costs of being seen in a world that still wants you in a costume? None of these films are perfect, but they're essential because satire, when done right, doesn't just make you laugh, it makes you look harder.